Welcome everybody. Welcome again to the Mount Zion podcast. And thank you for joining me for another episode of No Longer Silent. My guest today her name is Chantel Buchanan. She is a member of my home assembly, which is Georgia. I met her maybe about 3 years ago, approximately. And since then, we have had a budding relationship. And so tonight or today, whenever you're listening to this, she has decided to join me for another episode of No Longer Silent. Hi, Sister Shan.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Okay, so I would just like you to share a little bit about yourself, where you are from and how you got into the church.
Okay, that's a really long story, but I'll make it as short as I can. So I'm from Louisiana. I'm actually from the Metairie Kenner area. So it's Metairie Kenner area in Louisiana. And I met my husband down there at my old church, actually. He came to visit with some guys who the street that my church is on is called Jackson Street. And there's a big train line that runs through it. So my church is on the left side of Jackson Street. And on the right side of Jackson Street is this big warehouse where they do welding and all this kind of stuff. And it just so happens by a sheer miracle from God that the place my husband got sent to work was that place, that welding company that's on the same street. So they had these trailers set up and he was living right on my church street. And so that's how we ended up meeting, which to me this day is still amazing. And of course, he's a part of the church and just drew me in and, coming to know the truth and everything, traveling back and forth to Georgia so much until we just get the call, that we are to move. And that's what we did. We uprooted everything. I left everyone I knew and moved to Georgia. And it's the best decision I've ever made. So that's a little bit about me.
All right. All right. And whenever I hear that story, I'm always so mesmerized and just in awe of, how you just left your family and moved here. But as you said, best decision of your life. And so I'm giving God thanks for that.
Yes.
So we are going to go into the story that you are going to share with us. It's a story of sexual abuse, and I know that these can be so heart-wrenching. They can be so heartbreaking, but I am so grateful that you were brave enough to come on here tonight. And I just want to really just applaud you for the courage and the bravery. And so I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell me about that story and how you came out of it, how you became triumphant, and how you got to overcome.
Okay. Well, my story started it actually started before I started to physically get molested. I was molested at a young age. I believe I was around 10, 11. From 10 to about 13 was when it happened. But before 10, I was exposed to like a lot of different sexual things in my life, things I shouldn't be exposed to. I saw, you know, like my cousin getting filled on, and I just saw, I was introduced to watching pornography at a young age from an aunt of mine. And it's just, there's always this negativity I always felt towards sexualness. Like I never wanted to, I never thought of myself as being sexual. I never wanted to, I didn't even want to kiss a boy. I remember the first time a boy kissed me, I was so mad because I'm like, these are my lips. Like you cannot kiss my lips, because, you know, it's just from just years of being exposed in the wrong way. I was just always like almost angry towards any kind of sexual nature. And it really hit a boiling point for me before my cousin actually started to molest me. I was actually touched by my school bus driver. And so he was this guy who, I didn't like him. It's like for some reason, he didn't sit well with me. And I was about 9 years old at this time. And he had it wasn't like a bus, but it was like a van. And he was, I didn't like him for the sheer fact that one day my mom was walking to the school to come and get me, but I was on the van. And I asked him to stop. I'm like, that's my mom. Can you just stop? He refused to stop. So from that day, I had something against him. But I remember one day going home, no kids are allowed to sit in the front of the van, but he told me to come and sit in the front of the van in the passenger seat. I didn't want to, but he was like, come up here, I'm about to pull off. So I get up there and I put the seatbelt on, and as we're driving and everything, you know, instead of resting his arm on his armrest, he put it over on my armrest and just let his hand just be carefree, just fall. And so every bump, his fingers are just brushing on my thigh, and until he just like moved my arm seat, saved me. Usually I'm like the fourth one to get dropped off. He dropped me off last, and during that ride home, he just started touching me, rubbing my thigh, rubbing my chest. And I remember telling my mom about it. I was really scared. He was this big man, and I told my mom, and then after that, I didn't see him anymore. So I'm like, you know what? I just guys, just guys, and all of these things. It's just repulsed me at a very early age. And I had some cousins that I was really close to, who shall be nameless, cousin A, B, and C. They're brothers. And my mom got this job around the time I was 10. And my aunt, their mother, agreed to watch me during the day. So one day, my mom brought me over there, and my older cousin, he liked to go out and just be with his friends or whatever. So it was me and my other two cousins. And cousin A, he's about 5 years older than me. And then cousin B, he was maybe a year or two older than me. So me and cousin B were really close, but cousin A just was always there. And cousin C was always not there. He was always gone. And so one day we were in like the living hall area, and my aunt was taking a nap, and my cousin was just like, come on, Shan, come on, brother B, let's play this game. And it was supposed to be a tag game, but he was like, okay, we were gonna hide, and my other cousin was gonna count. My favorite cousin was gonna count. So he was like, okay, you turn around and count, and then we'll hide. So I'm standing there ready to go and hide, thinking about what I'm gonna do in my mind, where I'm gonna go. So as he's counting, he's like, count to 50, some big odd number.
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the world? So while he's counting, I'm like, come on, we gotta go. He lifts up my shirt and he starts to suck my right breast. And I'm standing there like, you know, this is my family. I can dislike all the guys outside, of my family, you know, at school and the bus driver. I can dislike them, but
Yeah.
the place where I'm supposed to be
This is,
safe at,
yes, this is
you
close
know,
to
with
home.
the people I'm supposed to be safe around, this is what he's doing to me. So after he finished sucking my breast, then I went and hid, and I told my other cousin who I was close with, I said, I don't want to play anymore. Let's go and play a video game.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with him to play his video game, and I didn't have any more contact with my other cousin. And I told my mom that evening. I didn't even tell her what happened because I was afraid that I would get in trouble because that's my cousin.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go back over there anymore. And she would ask why and everything. I said, I just don't want to. But I would end up going over there about 5 more times. But every time I went over there after that day, I made sure to go in the room by my aunt. If she took a nap, it was my nap time. Whatever she did, if she was cooking, I was in the kitchen with her. Like, I made sure I didn't have any alone time with him. And so it sprang from there, from at their house to it was my birthday, and we were having my mom was having a slumber party at my house for me, and she invited my cousins, like one, two, I had about 4 cousins and 1 friend there. And so we were all watching movies and everything, and it was nighttime. My mom made this big pallet, or she put a big sheet on the floor downstairs, and then we all had like different covers.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular cousin was like, I'm going to sleep at Shan because this is her birthday. This is my cousin. This is my girl. And I was like, well, I'm in my home. So I don't think he'll be that stupid to like try something in my own home.
Yeah.
And then my other cousins around. So it's nighttime, the lights off, I'm asleep. And then I feel like this pain between my legs, and he's touching me. He's touching me and he's moving closer to me to try to do other stuff. And I just get up immediately and I go upstairs to sleep in my room. And I was crying. I was like, on my birthday, this is what I have to face. This is what, you know, I have to go through. And it just sprung from there. Anytime he got the opportunity where it was a good time, he would find a way to touch me. And when I get a little bit older, it's like I noticed some changes in my body that I blamed solely on him. It's like my right breast grew so much faster than my left breast.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt weird. I felt like nobody will ever want me with the lopsided breast because they'll be able to tell that one of my breasts was messed with. There's something. I felt like I could not tell my mom. I couldn't tell my dad because this was a cousin who, like, you know, you have those family members where everybody in the family loves them.
Yes.
He was like that. Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. He was the most jovial one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who would believe me? Who would say, please go sit down? And so I remember we were in the pool once and I was out there swimming in my grandparents' backyard. He was out there. He come next to me and put his hand down my swimming trunks. I immediately get out. It's like no matter where I was or what I was doing, he just found a way to touch me. On the back of the church van, he touched me. It's no matter what. And by the time I reached my teenage years, I remember the last time it happened, we were at my home again, and he touched me on my private, and I said, you know what, you need to stop. I don't know where the boldness just come from. I was just tired of it. I said, you need to stop. And if you touch me again, I'm going to go tell him. And I remember that Sunday we went to church and I was sitting underneath the balcony and he came and sat next to me and he said, I'm sorry for touching you, but if you keep it a secret, I promise I won't do it again. And I said, okay, fine. I'll keep it a secret, but if you do it again, I'm serious, I'm going to tell. And as a 13-year-old, I didn't really understand the ramifications of how it really changed me on the inside. I didn't really grasp how it could come back years later. Like my mind just never been right from it. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided that I never wanted to be married. I wanted to buy some dogs and just live my life for myself. But guys like you. Yeah. And so I started to have boyfriends, not just 1, 2, 3, multiple. I didn't trust any of them. And I never put 2 and 2 together, like maybe this is the reason why you don't trust any of these guys or give anybody a chance to be close to you. I didn't trust them. I don't want to be with you that way. I just want to see what I can get from you. I want to see how you can make me feel better. What are you going to give me? What are you going to buy me? Like, where are we going to go? You're just here for a good time, but I got multiple backups, for whenever you fail me. And that's the cycle that was repeated all throughout the rest of my school days up until college. This cycle is going on with just multiple guys I'm talking to. And I even went so far, I used to like to play this game where I played this a lot in high school until it really caught up with me. I promised a guy like a sexual favor. And I'm like, meet me behind the ROTC building. It's like, word? For real? I'm like, yes. We meet behind the ROTC building. I'm walking up with my group of friends and we're laughing and this. I never forget this other guy named whoever his name is. We were in theater together and I said, meet me in the bathroom. As soon as the teacher go back in the office, I'm going to come in the bathroom after you. And this is the type of bathroom that locked from the outside. It's like one of those weird bathrooms that locked that way. So I went in the bathroom. I said, you ready? He's like, yes. And he pulled down his shorts and he pulled down his undergarments and everything. And I said, okay, wait 1 minute. Let me go make sure the teacher's in his office. I sneak out.
You locked him in the bathroom.
I locked the door. And I said, I'm leaving. I ran up the door and left. And he was locked in the bathroom.
Oh my God.
With his erection. And the teacher, I was like, I think he needs your help over there in the bathroom. And I just left. I was like, oh my gosh. But I mean, you can't be playing those kind of games too often because people, especially guys, it
catches up with you.
Yes, it's really gonna bite you. And that's what happened to me. But I was like, okay, let me move on to something else. But I realized that it really had an effect on me, like really once I got to college, because in college I started to deal with a lot of different men, and men are different from young guys. Like men want something. Guys can give you some money at lunch or whatever, but then they're not gonna give you no money at lunch. They want something in return. And it just so happened that when I graduated high school and I got introduced to different men, I was actually living in a shelter because Hurricane Katrina came and we were homeless. So we were living in a shelter and I would offer them the promise of something, but I'm like, we're in a shelter, so it's not going to be much. And until that one came and he was really serious about wanting me. And I never forget, I felt like at that time, even my parents like wanted something to happen with me. Like I feel like even though at the time I was 18, I just felt like they just left me to myself. And I was basically on my own, even though I
Did
was
they,
with them
did
mentally
they
and everything.
did they know about what had happened to you at this time when you were 18 years old and living in the shelter?
No, they didn't. They just knew that I had a lot of boyfriends because I didn't hide. I'd never hid that back from them. I would
Mhm.
always tell them, I got another one today. And it's like everybody in my family knows Chantel has multiple boyfriends. So it was common knowledge. So, I mean, but when I got to the shelter and my mom started seeing me talking to older guys, only one of them she protested about because she said he looks like he was like a bodybuilder type.
Mhm.
And I mean, he was gorgeous for real. And my mom said, this guy, he's gonna abuse you. I just see woman abuser all over him. Don't talk to him. But the other, like 15, she didn't say anything about. But this last one, the one who told me in the middle of the night at a dark park that he used to be in jail, he came to my house and I just I never liked him, but my parents were in love with him. And my mom just knew that I was gonna marry this guy. And I'll never forget, like my mom raised me up to just not put myself in any predicament to like just be with a guy alone.
Yes.
But I'm 18. This guy told my parents he was 26, which he really wasn't. He was a bit older, around 32. And I remember he came over to where we were staying. And when he came over, my mom was like, okay, we're going to go to Walmart. And she told my dad, she's like, come on, let's go to Walmart. And she took my sisters and my little brother. And I was like, well, you want us to come? She's like, no, you stay here. And I was like, are you sure you want us to come? I mean, you just going to Walmart. She's like, no, you stay. You have company. And I don't think, I've never told my mom this, but at that moment, I felt like I hated her. I felt like, see, me and my mom have always had a rough, a
Relation.
rough relationship. And I've always been closer to my grandmother than my mom. But
Mhm.
at that moment, when she left me there with him, I just felt so unloved, like she wanted something to happen to me. Like she wanted me to go down a path that she went down. Because when I was born, my mom was 16 and my dad was 19. And I was born a month before they got married. And I always feel like, in a way, the older I got, and I wasn't pregnant and I wasn't fooling around, it's almost like a jealousy feeling I got from her. And that day when she left me, I felt like she wanted me to turn up pregnant. She wanted something to happen. And so we were there after they left, and he put on Ray J, If I Had One Wish. And he was like, let's dance because I just want to be with you forever. And I was dancing with him and he pulled me close to him. And I'm like, no, I can't. I can't. Let's just go somewhere. And we ended up leaving the house. And I couldn't be physically close to him. I didn't want to be pressed up against him. it's like immediately something in my head just was defensive.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's never gave me a vibe to be defensive against him, but something in me was like, I'm gonna chop you clean in half if you come closer. Like some defensive was in me, but I didn't get it. I didn't put it together. And so anyway, after all this happened and I ended up getting a different boyfriend who was stalking me and just a whole bunch of different things was going on in my life. The first time I went to college, I told my mom, I said, I just want to take a break from college, from boyfriends. I just want to take a break and I want to move back to Kenner and go stay with my grandparents for a while and work with my aunt. And so that's what I did. I ended up moving about 50 minutes away back with my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And it was while I was with them in December when I met my husband, but, ruined. And so as we talked and everything, and then we ended up falling in love and getting married. When we get married now, I don't even want this guy to touch me. It was like that real for me. I'm like, this is okay. I'm married. This is my wedding. Like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Anytime he go to put his hands on me or do something, it's like a fear. Something just come over me. And it was like this for about 2 years. And sometimes I just fight the feeling and just give in because he's my husband. And it's like I'm torturing him,
Yeah.
you know? But in my mind I'm not, but I mean probably to him I was because hey, you're my wife now. So I finally told him what was wrong. And I told him about my cousin and the things he did to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you need to talk to your parents about this. Like, you need to get to some resolution because if not, we're just gonna have a big issue because
Problem. Yeah.
it's just gonna go on and on.
Yeah.
So I called my dad and I said, Daddy, can we meet somewhere? I need to talk to you. And we met in the parking lot of a Burlington's. And I get out of my car and go to his car and I said, Daddy, there's something I need to tell you that I think I should have told you a long time ago. And I told him that my cousin molested me. And at first, the look on his face, he was so angry, but then he was like, why didn't you say something then?
Mm-hmm.
We could have helped you. We could have stopped it. We could have got everything in.
Protected you.
Yes. And so he was like, well, that explains some things as well with, you just going crazy, all these boyfriends and you break this one heart. And it's like everything that he was saying was making sense to me. And then the pieces of the puzzle was just falling in place. And I saw the changes in myself and this is the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, you have two options now because at this time, I mean, I'm an adult now. I got married at 20. By this time I was about 22, 23. And I mean, married and everything. He said, okay, you have two options. Either you're going to hold on to this and just let it continue to grow and fester, or you're going to decide to let it go and forgive him.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as you would like to, you can't go back and change time. Like you can't go back and change what has been done. But God can help you heal from this.
Yes.
And I said, I want to forgive him. And I want to let it go because I found out as I got older in my life, I found out a lot of things about my cousin I didn't know. Not that it excused his behavior towards me, but I found out he was molested too. And he was raped by one of our other cousins, one of our older cousins. And he went through all of this stuff, and his way of dealing with it is doing it to other people, which I don't understand, but that's what he did. And so now today, like I remember talking to him, and me and my husband, we went to Louisiana for a visit. I actually saw him walking out of a Walmart. And when I saw him, it was like he was completely different. He was different in a bad way. And I was like, just the thought came to my mind, this is what happens when it grows and it festers and you don't deal with it. And all I could feel towards him was not pity, but it's like my heart softened toward him.
You felt
and I really felt that I forgave him.
Yeah.
And I saw him and I said, hey, and I gave him a hug. And he was saying that he's doing okay, and other cousins. And it just really showed me the power of forgiveness.
Yes.
Forgiving others, even forgiving myself for not telling, for just keeping it to myself. Forgiving him for what he did. Just forgiveness is so powerful.
It is.
And to truly love somebody, and like with my husband, to really love him, to give myself to him, it's a lot. Because when you and a man become one, it's your soul. It's like, it takes all of you. And I couldn't give that to my husband. But once I truly forgave, I saw I could love my husband the way that he desired to be loved, the way I wanted to love him, because, he's my husband. And so, I mean, now today, sometimes I still think about it. I still think about the different things that I went through. I think about his story. And I have like 2 other cousins who have similar stories to me, but outside of the family. And I'm just like, God, I just wish that my ultimate prayer for my cousin who molested me is that he would come to know the freeing love of Jesus like I do.
Yes.
Because I honestly could not be a wife, a mom, and love like Jesus loves if I didn't have God in my life. I couldn't. And I just wish that he would know that freedom. And the song that says, nothing until you really know the love of God.
Yes.
You really don't. You don't know forgiveness. You don't know nothing. So I'm just grateful to be one who it changed me, but it didn't change me for worse. But
it changed you for the better.
Yes.
Sister Bucky, Sister Chantel, thank you so much for sharing that story. And even though, you cried, the truth is, and the reality is that you are on the other side of it. The reality is that you are an overcomer. And it hurts so much that the perpetrators of these acts, that they don't know, as you said, the ramifications of it, how it follows you for the rest of your life. You have to live with those memories. And even sometimes when you've come to a place of healing and forgiveness, when you think about it, when something triggers one of those memories, it is still so hard to deal with. And, when you spoke about what happened to him, the thought that came back to my mind was how people always say that hurting people hurt people. And if you don't deal with something like that, then it's gonna come out and it's gonna affect other people that are in your life. And if you want to protect the ones that you love, then you have to deal with it. And so I'm glad that you found God. I'm glad that you found his love and that you are living a fulfilling life with a husband that loves you and your wonderful boys, and I am just so grateful that you were brave enough and that you had the courage to share this so that other people can know, because so many people will be able to relate to your story. I can relate to your story. And so I am just grateful. And you covered basically everything that I wanted to ask, and so before we go, and before I say thank you one more time, I just wanted to share, as I always do, just a snippet of this poem. It's called Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. I thought it was very fitting for your story because you came out of that situation. It says, "You may write me down in history with their bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awfully hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise." And so I am grateful that you've decided to be no longer silent and that you have risen above that situation, that you have the courage to share with others who may be going through the same situation and they're just looking for a glimmer of hope. Can I get out of this? Can I stop feeling the way that I'm feeling? Is there any ray of sunshine at the end of all of this darkness? You gave them that strength, you gave them that hope, you gave them that glimmer of light tonight. And I am so grateful. Thank you again for sharing, Sister Chantel. And keep staying with us, because we have more stories to share with you of women who have overcome everything that was meant to hold them down. Until next time, I'm your host, Navita Milton Riley. Thank you for joining.